Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. Today we are talking about one of my most exciting teams for the 2022 season, the South Carolina Gamecocks. I love pretty much everything about this program, and we're going to talk about that 2022 spring game that just happened earlier tonight. I'm going to take you guys through kind of each position group, position room, talk about what I saw, what I liked, what I think I'm excited for this 2022 season. But let's just start with the energy that was down there in South Carolina tonight. I mean, celebrating the women's basketball team. But Shane Beamer, Coach Beamer, I am just an absolute believer in this dude. I can't see why any player wouldn't want to play for this guy. The energy was absolutely phenomenal. And obviously with Spencer Rattler making his first appearance for the Gamecocks, the place was absolutely buzzing. So let's jump right into it. If you guys like the content, subscribe, like the video. The support has been absolutely awesome. Almost up to 770 subscribers on the channel. Appreciate that. We're talking a lot of ball on this channel. So if you guys enjoy that, come check us out. Quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler, Luke Doty. I think Luke Doty. I think that's how they say it. Mainly, let's talk about Spencer Rattler. He's QB1 heading into the season. Looked in command. I think that's what you're going to look for, a quarterback in the spring game. Obviously, they're not getting hit, but you want to see him getting out of the huddle, making some good throws, developing some chemistry with some of his pass catchers, and that's what you saw. 8 of 10 in the first half. Very efficient, in command. I think he took 1 sack, but the offensive line, I thought, held up pretty well. Spencer Rattler, a guy that with elite arm talent, you guys obviously all know if you're on this channel. 5-star commit, Oklahoma, transferring over to South Carolina. Really, really special arm talent that I think he will just appreciate a fresh start. I know him and Coach Beamer had a good relationship at Oklahoma. That's no doubt why he came to the Gamecocks. But I thought he looked good. I also thought Luke Doty also looked good. People forget he was a former top 100 recruit, 4-star, like bona fide, very good football player. Probably will be quarterback next year after Spencer Rattler finishes up this year and goes to the NFL. Very optimistic about this quarterback room. And don't forget, a year ago, you were starting a graduate assistant who was done playing football and still won 7 games last year. I mean, extremely impressive. What do you think this team can do with an elite quarterback like Spencer Rattler at the helm? Very excited for this aspect of the South Carolina Gamecocks, but possibly the best room and best position group that the South Carolina Gamecocks are going to bring to the table in the 2022 season is that running back room. Christian Beal-Smith, obviously, I'm a Wake Forest guy. Seen a lot of him. He's a great running back. Kind of finding some just a new program in South Carolina. 5th year. I think this will be his 6th year playing college football. A guy that I watched as a true freshman early enrollee in a spring game. Elusive. He's big. He runs the ball hard. You also got Marshawn Lloyd, Juju McDowell, and the transfer from Georgia, Lavosa Carroll. Marshawn Lloyd looked awesome. Marshawn Lloyd finally getting that juice back. Again, a top 50 recruit his year in high school. Couple of ACL injuries, but he's looking like he's got that juice. He's running the ball hard, extremely quick today. That's kind of what you're looking for in your running backs. And I really liked what they were doing with some 2 running back sets, getting Juju McDowell in space, obviously the absolute speedster. Christian Beal-Smith, Marshawn Lloyd, also kind of getting to the edge with a few bounce outs. Thought they all looked really, really solid. And I'm interested to see which is going to be the featured running back. And quite frankly, I don't even think you need to have a featured running back. They all bring different traits and different assets to this offense. I like to see all of them get their touches and really be able to just provide some sort of spark to this offense. The wide receiver room, probably one of the more question mark rooms last year. Obviously, the quarterback play, the inconsistent quarterback play didn't help. You have a really good wide receiving room this year that I think I'm really excited for. Josh Vann, obviously the guy who's coming back from last year, thought he could have gone and tested the NFL waters, but he's back. In terms of like kind of a physical, playing above the rim type of wide receiver, I like what he brought to the table. Saw on this film for the 2021 season, a couple of really nice plays downfield, really good stretching the field. And then Antoine Wells, the transfer from James Madison. When I was watching the FCS in the spring a couple of years ago, this guy was just absolutely popping. Really, really good separator. A lot to like. He's really productive at James Madison. They like to throw the ball. He was their main guy, one of the best wide receivers in the FCS. He probably is another guy that probably could have gone to the draft. But a lot to like about Antoine Wells, and it seemed like that's Rattler's guy. Rattler's really developing some chemistry with Antoine Wells. And then obviously Jaheim Bell, a guy that you just want to get the ball to him in space and let him use that big body elite athleticism to make something happen. And also kind of similar to Kerryon Joyner, obviously not playing tonight. Saw him as a quarterback in that bowl game. Just a guy with elite athleticism, a guy that you want to just get him touches, get him on the field in ways that he can impact the game. And we didn't even see Austin Stogner, who's going to be Spencer Rattler's guy at the tight end position. He hasn't come in yet. He's still he'll be enrolled in the summer, from what I'm reading. A couple other guys, Chad Terrell, I believe a 6-year guy, had a nice catch and run, former wide receiver, putting on some weight, playing tight end. And then Xavier Legette, another guy that kind of popped, had a few really nice catches. And then one other guy, just a shout out, Travion Kenyon, that blocking tight end, number 12, just absolutely laying the wood. He's a sicko in run blocking, and he's just a guy that they like to run that power gap scheme concept. Get him pulling around like linebackers don't want to see that dude barreling down. Very physical and just wants all the smoke. He's a guy that I know Beamer's gonna like. I like him. The guy that I'm kind of excited for in establishing that run. Then the offensive line, I thought this was maybe a weak point tonight's game. And again, I know they were splitting them up. Some of the first team guys on one team, some of the first team guys on the other team. So it's tough with the chemistry, especially early on in the spring. Again, only like their 14th practice. Picking up the blitzes, having those different blitz pickup packages installed. Definitely going to be a little slow. You saw them kind of struggle picking up a few blitzes. But at the end of the day, they're returning I think 7 guys who started 6+ games last year. It was a weak unit last year from what I saw on film. They really struggled to establish the run. They struggled to protect the quarterback. But again, you're getting a lot of guys who have a lot of experience, and I have a lot of confidence that Beamer and that offensive staff is going to get the best 5 out there come the fall in 2022. But again, I didn't think they were great, but they were moving some bodies in the run game. So a little bit optimistic about that. Focus our attention away from the shiny object of the offense and looking at the defense. In any spring game, you don't want to see one side of the ball dominate the other, because at the end of the day, the other side of the ball is still on your team. And if the offense is scoring a lot, that means the defense might be struggling. You see a lot of times the defense just dominate the offense in a lot of spring games. I thought this was really evenly matched, but I want to start with this defensive line. We're going to get more into the guys that I really like once I go back and watch some more 2021 film of South Carolina as we do our summer preview. But in terms of the spring game, keeping an eye on guys like Jordan Burch, Zach Pickens. Again, Jordan Burch, I believe they said a second highest recruit behind Jadeveon Clowney in program history. This will be his 3rd year, so hopefully see him get his legs under him and start being the dominant guy that he was in high school. Zach Pickens, another top 10 recruit who could have gone to the draft, decides to come back another year. Not surprised with the optimism that Beamer kind of instills in his players. And then there's Jordan Strachan, a guy that I was excited for last year, transferred from Georgia State. I think he had 15 sacks at Georgia State before coming over here. He's also going to be back. So you have a couple guys, or a really core group of guys that can get after the passer in Jordan Burch, Zach Pickens, and Jordan Strachan. A couple other guys I wanted to look at, Terrell Dawkins, the transfer from NC State. In terms of actual play, Alex Huntley got a nice sack. Obviously, you're not actually bringing out the quarterback, but Beamer calling it a sack. Optimistic about him. And then a few good pass rushes and quarterback hurries. Again, different kind of blitzes. You don't see normal teams bring too many blitzes, but South Carolina's defense was bringing some blitzes in the spring game. Was working. At times, I liked what I saw from that defensive line, but those guys didn't get a ton of burn. You kind of know what you got, but I'm very optimistic about those guys coming into the 2022 season. Linebacker. This is probably the biggest question mark I think you have on this defense. Looking at the depth chart, Sherrod Green was probably the most impressive. That's kind of who I was kind of keying in. You losing a lot of guys from the transfer portal. I think they have 3 or 4 linebackers transfer out this year. It wasn't a particularly strong group last year. So who's going to step in? Sherrod Green, a guy who's played a lot of ball. I believe this is his 5th year in that 2017 class. So he'll be a 5th-year guy this year. Optimistic about him. I thought he looked pretty good. But one of the problems that I saw during the spring game is they were kind of losing leverage, letting running backs kind of get outside them. So that's something maybe you got to clean up, fixing your eyes, keeping your gap integrity. But it's something that Beamer's going to have to figure out, because I do think this might be the least amount of depth they have at any particular position in terms of proven players is probably that linebacker spot. And now a spot that you don't have too much depth problem is that cornerback room. One of the best secondaries in the league last year in the SEC. I think the only team to throw for over 300 yards on them was Georgia. Cam Smith, one of the best cornerbacks coming back, a guy that I'm extremely excited for. You got that transfer, Devontae Reed from Central Michigan, who I was watching a little bit of highlights from. He's an athlete. He's a playmaker. He's a four-star guy in the 24/7 transfer portal. BJ Gibson coming downhill, making some nice plays in the run defense. And then RJ Roderick, a guy that I like, but he missed a few tackles today again. Spring ball, cleaning up tackles. This is a deep group that has a lot of guys who played a lot of football. So Beamer and company are going to get the best guys out there. It's a good group. It was a good group last year. They're not losing too much. So I'm optimistic that this group will be pretty strong coming fall of 2022. To kind of close out, I really do want to focus on the running backs, or not the running backs, but the offense in general, because that's where you see all the new faces. Spencer Rattler, that what you're looking for is he just looks in command. He's developing some chemistry with his wide receivers, specifically the newcomer Antoine Wells. Really excited about those two. Antoine Wells could be an 1,000-yard receiver in terms of like 8 catches, 70 yards a game. Like this dude is a machine in the PPR, not PPR. We're not talking fantasy football, but in receptions per game. Like he gets a lot of touches, he gets open a lot, and then really establishing that run game in creative ways. I would love to see some more 2 running back sets because you had 4 guys who I think are legit studs. And get those guys the ball, get the ball in their hands and let them cook. They all have different traits. I think Christian Beal-Smith, probably the most bruiser kind of between the tackles. And then Juju McDowell, a guy that just has phenomenal speed on the edge. Saw him kind of have some burst tonight. And then figuring out what that offensive line is going to be. But in short, there's a lot of optimism. I'm excited. You guys saw in my top 25, I have South Carolina in the top 25. This team's going to be good. This was a team that won 7 games in the SEC last year, capping off with a great win against UNC with Sam Howell in the bowl game, with just like no quarterback, whether it was a grad assistant, an injured Luke Doty, gotta keep getting that in my head, or Jason Brown. Like the quarterback play was not good last year. They won 7 games. An extremely impressive season for Beamer in that in his first season. Very excited about this team. And I think you just see the optimism, the really exciting feeling that South Carolina has. Excited for this team in the fall. Again, appreciate you guys checking out the channel, checking out our spring game recap on the South Carolina Gamecocks, a team that I'm going to be covering a lot this year. Going to be taking some bets on them. Very excited about them. So if you guys are into South Carolina, we'll be talking a lot about them on the channel this year. So make sure you subscribe. Go like the video and go Gamecocks, baby. Appreciate you guys being here, checking us out. Talk to y'all next time. Peace.